As we are about to start our study today, as always, we start with a message today from the book Living and Loving by the spiritual benefactor Joanna de Angelis, entitled Emotional Stability. Emotional stability is attained through inner conviction. This conviction results from our trust in our faith and the ideals we profess. This is what gives us a sense of security. It reflects our firm spiritual belief and helps us to keep a stable, balanced attitude regardless of the problems we must face along our evolutionary path. Emotional stability overcomes the fears generated by past errors. It also allows us to pursue our superior ideals and be of service to others whenever we wish to do so. It neutralizes environmental instability and helps us to face pressures or facilities with equal poise, refraining from excess and extravagance. When aware of our mission on earth, we should set ourselves a goal and strive to attain it. We should neither stop nor run, but walk on firmly and steadily, never disturbing others. Our faith in the truth of everlasting life should help us to act serenely. Ask yourself what you expect from life, how you plan to achieve it, and why you want it. Appraise the contents of your aspirations and compare them with the teachings of the gospel. Then choose the most sensible course of action. Ponder over what you have been through, what you have already sown and reaped. If you are not sure about the right choice, stop and pray, seeking inspiration from the higher realms. Answers will certainly come that will enable you to perceive what is real and most convenient for you, how to achieve it, and why you want it. Your emotional stability needs prompt and deep care. Start work inside yourself to renew your mental attitude. Decide resolutely to overcome sorrows and pains so that you may attain self-balance. Whatever you want intensively, you shall get. Do not put your plans off, neither or nor wait for what the future may bring. Act now. Today is your most precious moment. Tomorrow things will certainly be more difficult. You may be tired, frail, and fearful. Act on your new resolutions now. You will feel much better as you will be taking your first step towards your emotional stability.
Dear God, our loving Father, we are very happy to be here one more time, together to study about your laws, to study the Spirit's book, to study about Jesus. May we open our heart, and may we be open and have the courage to make the changes we need to live a better life. May we also have the courage to help everyone in need. May we also have the courage to make all the changes necessary to make us better and happier. So be it.
And in that way, we are about to start our study today. May we all feel welcome as students, as learners of Spiritism, as we all are, ourselves and all of those in spirit one with us. Starting our reflections as students of Spiritism as we are, understanding that Spiritism is a science which treats with the origin, nature, and destiny of the spirits and their interaction with the corporeal world, where we are on the physical level. We are in the last part of the Spirit's book, entitled the chapter Hopes and Consolations, and we finished last week on the question 1013, where we carry on today. We just read it quickly for us to situate ourselves, and then we carry on the question 1014. The question was, what is to be understood by purgatory? We are under the sub-item, heaven, hell, and purgatory. And then the Enlightened Spirits, as we studied last week, said to us, physical and mental suffering. It is a period of expiation. It is almost always on the earth that you make your own purgatory, and that is where God enables you to expiate your wrongs. Understand that we are reflecting on the subtitle, as mentioned, Heaven, Hell, and Purgatory, within the understanding of the immortality of the soul. So the enlightened spirits bring information helping us to decondition ourselves from the old ways of thinking, how we learned in the past existences that purgatory was a specific place. Now we are understanding that it's not so. It is just a mental or internal state of mind which is transitory. Within the immortality of the soul, we are immortal beings, and we can be in a very challenging state of mind while incarnate or disincarnate. So it's helping here to understand that we are back on earth in order to evolve our thinking, our understanding, our knowledge in relation to the natural laws of life. And then still in the question 1013, we have read the note of Allan Kardec, which we go through today just for us to situate ourselves. And he says, what is called purgatory is also a figure of speech that should not be understood as some definite place, but rather the state of imperfect spirits who are undergoing expiation until their complete purification raises them to the plane of the blissful spirits. Since this purification occurs over several incarnations, purgatory consists in the trials of corporeal life. Is there anything that we would like to add here? According to our understanding, there was the reference that Allan Kardec made. If we were to say according to our own words, what would that be? What to be learned within Spiritism? Any idea? How could we reframe it? It's as I mentioned previously, there is no such a thing as the definite place on the physical level. We are talking about spirits, immortal beings. Therefore, we are psychological and emotional beings in essence, and therefore there is no specific physical place eternally. Is that making sense?
Yeah, in the same way we learn there is no place for heaven and hell. It's the same with purgatory.
Precisely.
State of, like they said, state of mind. Maybe a state where our emotions are as well, where we are emotionally.
Correct, where we are psychologically and emotionally, and that is transitory, and with every state of mind that we are. What is a state of mind which refers to heaven? We would all like to be there, isn't it? What do we understand about the state of mind referring to heaven?
I think it would be where when our actions are more in line with God's laws.
Precisely. When our thinking, feeling, and behavior or attitude is more aligned in relation to the natural laws of life, or the natural laws in the universe, which are God's laws. And God's laws, we all bring them within, and as more as we actualize ourselves accordingly, we will feel more harmonized, more in peace, because we understand better ourselves, the others, the experiences, and the transitory of everything in our lives.
The moment we might think about something, feel something else, and act in a different way. There's a disconnection between the three. That's why we suffer so much.
That could be the hell. That could be a state of mind which refers to the hell, when we are completely upside down. As you just mentioned it correctly, we may think one thing, we may feel another one, and still behave in another way. That is the inner confusion that we temporarily go through. And that we don't need to wait to die in order to be in hell. That is already a state of mind where we are right now. For us in Spiritism, we don't believe in death. We believe that we are immortal, and the physical body dies sooner or later, but we carry on alive. And in that way, exactly the same way that we think and feel in the present will be exactly how we will carry on feeling and thinking. So it's important that we actualize our thinking more and more according to the universal laws, and in that way, it doesn't matter if we are in the flesh, out of the flesh, if we are on earth, or in a different planet, we will gradually be more and more harmonized from within. Is that making sense? Okay, so that in mind, now we carry on the question 1014. Carla, would you like to read it for us, please?
How do you explain the fact that spirits, who are known to be highly evolved because of the language they use, have given to serious individuals answers on hell and purgatory that are in line with commonly accepted ideas?
Okay, this question is quite long. Let's explore it. If you were to reframe it according to our own words, what is the question about? Because sometimes when we reframe it in different words, according to our own understanding today, may also help others who are studying with us to understand it. Especially those who never studied it, who never heard of it. How would that?
What is the explanation for those spirits who seem to be very evolved, who have the same idea that we have?
Okay, anybody else?
No, I have the same kind of.
The same?
Why they are evolved to have the same speech that we do?
Okay. And before we see what the Enlightened Spirits are teaching us, what would we say?
We are respecting our level of evolution.
The respect?
Our level of evolution.
Okay.
They say otherwise there's something too difficult for us to understand. We won't be able to understand.
Okay, and let's imagine that someone is here who never heard about the level of evolution. What is that about?
Our knowledge, our level of knowledge about everything about the laws of God.
I think it refers, Cynthia, for those who may be studying with us and never heard about the law of evolution, never heard about the reincarnation, the law of reincarnation, never heard about the immortality of the soul. The level of evolution means us as immortal beings, that we are not a physical body, we are spirits. Sooner or later we free ourselves from the physical body, but we carry on alive, carry on coming back in a new existence and expanding our knowledge about the universal laws. Is that making sense? And that is different for each one of us, although we all have been created simple and ignorant with God. Okay, clear? So now let's see, apart what we said, let's see what the Enlightened Spirits say. We start gradually, then it's easy for us to go through. The first phrase is, they speak a language that can be understood by the individuals who question them. If you just stay with that phrase, what will come to our minds? They, who are they? The evolved spirits. The spirits who are more evolved. They speak a language that can be understood by the individuals who question them. How do we develop that? Why do they speak a language that can be understood by those who question them?
I think what we were speaking before, like they are evolved, but they are talking to spirits, they are not as evolved as them. So they make sure their language can be understood for those in our level, basically.
Okay. And my question is, those who are more evolved. When we consider here on earth, everyone who is more evolved intellectually and necessary is able to speak with anyone who is on the lower level? No. So why do the higher spirits, the beings who are more evolved, is speaking a language that everyone can understand? Why is that? Why?
Not to upset them too much. It's to advance for them as well.
But let's imagine the higher ones, they are here, we are here. So why do they, from the higher understanding, come down and speak in language according to our understanding? Why do they do that?
Because they are morally evolved and they respect us.
So they are morally evolved, and therefore it means they are not just evolved intellectually, but they are also evolved emotionally. Therefore, they can universalize their understanding, and they can speak in a very simple way, because moral evolution means developing simplicity of consciousness. Is that making sense? Okay. And then they carry on. When such individuals are higher in mood with certain ideas, these spirits do not want to shock them too suddenly in order not to offend their convictions. How can we develop that phrase now? What comes to our minds?
The respect for the high spirit, for who is asking.
So it's almost like the big ones in relation to the small ones. Or those, let's say, more mature beings in evolution, those who are more in an immature level, which are ourselves. Okay? What else?
I think the open-minded talk to the stubborn-minded ones.
Correctly. Or those who are more humble, or those who learn to love more, because there is the language of love already. They can refer to those more, let's say, on the intellectual level or more blocked emotionally, temporarily, because we all are evolving. As more as we simplify ourselves, psychologically and emotionally, it happens through the level that we learn to love on a deeper level. Otherwise, we cannot simplify our minds and hearts, isn't it? We are quite complex still.
Yeah, but when the higher spirits come to speak of love, I understand if you got there, they don't want to shock them. They can only give them what they think they can take in at this point in time.
Mm-hmm. And that is love.
Yeah.
That is love, but also shows for us who are studying, we also are developing ourselves, the need that we have to learn to love ourselves and also learning to simplify ourselves psychologically and emotionally, because then we can speak to different beings in different levels of evolution in a simpler way, according to the needs of each being. And that is respect, that is consideration, that is love towards others. Because otherwise, if we speak here in this level of understanding with someone who is here, are we really communicating? No, there is no interaction. It's almost like we're speaking Japanese and Portuguese, two different languages, yes? Therefore, there's no learning going on.
Did you see that film of Jesus over the last few days on television?
I didn't.
Jesus came down and, before he was executed, he was talking about things and they couldn't accept anything he was doing. And when he was executed, some of the regular religious people, and someone said, Jesus is alive, I saw him. He's not, he's dead. How dare you say things like that? And they wouldn't accept that Jesus had shown himself. But when those people that was very angry, he did show himself to them, they got a shock.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So you see, not everyone is ready to accept the truth.
No. The truth is one in the universe. All of us, children of God, beings in evolution, we have different understanding, but we are all moving towards that one truth. It just takes different time for us. And it's okay.
Careless with your speech, you can harm someone if you don't
Yes. Yes, if we are, let's say, prideful and we think really that we are very clever, very intellectual level, but we may be very shut down emotionally, we could be very aggressive sometimes and not being sensible to understand where the other is in their understanding. Then instead of helping, we may clash ideas. Is that making sense? Okay. And then they carry on here teaching us. If a spirit were to forget about verbal precautions and to say to a Muslim that Muhammad was not a prophet, it would be very purely received. What do we learn here now?
Just you have to be careful what you say to people.
Respectful.
Yeah.
Yes.
They may not agree with you, but they expect you to go along with what they ask.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They're not ready for that.
Yeah. Anything else? What do we as immortal beings need to learn to reach that level that we can speak with others, respecting the differences and the different? What does the spirit need to develop to reach that level? Humility for sure, so that we really, let's say, advance on the emotional level, that we develop this great potential of the soul, which is humility. That we don't need to be the rightful or to have the last word, but we have the need to respect and engage with people. We have our own viewpoints, but we can relate with others who have a different one. If someone believes in the Muslim community, it wouldn't be charitable to go there and talk in a disrespectful way. It will be charitable to engage with those who have that understanding in respecting their beliefs. Now we carry on the question 1014A. Let's go through. Jack, would you like to read it for us, please?
Yeah. We can understand this on the part of spirits who wish to instruct us. But how may it be explained that, when questioned about their situation, spirits have responded that they were suffering the tortures? Spirits have responded that they were suffering the tortures of hell and burning.
Okay, let's explore the question. What is this question about? Different from the previous one. What was Allan Kardec intending to get from the Enlightened Spirits when he raised this question? How do we understand the question today, if we were to reframe it with our own words? We can understand this on part of the spirits who wish to instruct us, but how may it be explained that when questioned about their situation, spirits have responded that they were suffering the tortures of hell and purgatory? Have we read that in the Spiritist lecture? Yes. So what is the question about? We read it in the Spiritist lecture, or when we work mediumistically, the spirits come and say, I'm really in a hell. So why is that happening?
I think they experience about their feelings about what they're going through. And they give you this name. Like we learn when, at least I used to hear a lot and study in Catholic schools about no hell in heaven. So you have that picture in your mind about hell, and you think it's regarding to that when they talk about it.
So you mean because we came from different schools of thinking throughout our existences, we may have learned that the hell exists because the Father taught us in that way, and when we die physically, we still have that mentality about the experience. The way that we think, we will feel, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah? So the spirits still sometimes, when they come through a mediumistic work, they say, oh my God, I feel in this situation precisely how they believed while they were in the flesh. But once we start to talk, we start to help them to have an open mind about the new reality, gradually they will realize that really is not happening, but is a state of mind. And then let's see what we learn with the Enlightened Spirits. They say, when they are of a low order and are not completely dematerialized, spirits retain a portion of their earthly ideas and translate their impressions using terms that are familiar to them. Let's reflect up to here. If we were to develop this first part, how would we say it?
I think just like, as you said, we come from different schools of thought, and when we die, we know our conscious remains the same, even though some of us don't realize that. So when you pass away, you're going to still think the same way you were thinking when you were alive. So just keep the same idea. So if you were suffering before you die, and then you're going to wake up on the other side, you're still suffering.
Okay, and let's go through when they say, when they are of a low order. What do we understand about the spirits of a low order?
Low understanding.
Sorry?
Or low understanding.
Low understanding.
Is he not so low when he suddenly woke up in the spirit world and he was suffering? He was being verbally abused, that was jeering at him.
Okay. What else comes to our minds when we read here? Spirits of a low order.
I think those, they are very attached to the material world still.
Would we also consider the scale of evolution that we study in the Spirit's book, question 100? The scale of evolution, because we all have been created simple and ignorant by God, but we have developed ourselves in different levels. So the lower orders, they still are in the beginning of the scale, and we are not far from that. Just to remind us, okay? As beings in evolution. And then the spirits go on, and are not completely dematerialized. What comes to our minds when we read that? Not completely dematerialized. What is that about?
Very attached to
very attached to matter, very attached to the material experiences, very attached to the sensorial level, which means that we still are very at the beginning here. Dematerialized is not completely dematerialized, means that we still are quite materialized. We perceive ourselves more as on the physical level, as beings who are born, they develop themselves, they grow, they get married, they job, and then they die. But here we are reflecting now that that is just a small part in our journey. And also when we are back on earth, we learn to relativize our experiences according to the immortality of the soul. So we interact with matter from an immortal perspective. Is that making sense? Are we okay up to here? Then they carry on, these enlightened spirits carry on. They find themselves in surroundings that do not permit them to grow the future except in a deficient way. This is the reason why errant or recently disincarnated spirits usually speak just as they would have if they were still incarnate. So what comes to ourselves now in this second part?
They are still living as if they were alive before they died.
Is they were in the flesh?
Yeah,
Okay.
in the flesh.
Okay.
Then I think they still have the same sort of speech, and sometimes they can come and talk to you without realizing they passed away. We are talking, through another person.
Correct. Because when we die, explaining, when the physical body dies, we carry on alive, but we carry on with the same thinking. So I may be outside of the body already, but instead maybe thinking that I'm still in the body in the same situation with the same people around me. And then the benefactors may start to talk to me from the level where I am, so that I'm gradually waking up and perceiving myself that I'm not longer in that place where I think that I am. Okay?
And they love the physical world anyway, don't they? They call their possessions and their money and their wealth, whatever they love. And when they go out and join, whether it's to the pub or whether it's to the theatre, they love that lifestyle so much. And then they haven't got any of that.
They are attached as we are. If we are not relating in a more relative way in relation to things and people, it will happen the same with us. Because where we focus our minds, we become attached. And then when we are out of the body, I may be so attracted, for example, to my office, in the meetings that I have in my agenda, and we say, oh my God, I'm late for my meeting. I go, please, where is my secretary? I need to go to my meeting. And they start to talk exactly how they were here. Then we need to help them to understand. Look around, listen to, perhaps it's a different environment where you are. We need to be careful not to shock them. We need to start in a gentle way.
It's like the sixth sense, where the psychotherapist, he doesn't realize he's dead until nearly the end.
Precisely. It's very important for us, even for us here, to renew our thinking constantly. So when it's our time to go back to the spiritual world, that we may not give so much hard work to the benefactors. We may immediately wake up, oh, I'm back already. Go off, study, work, help, work, cooperate, yeah? And now carry on here on the question 1014. Carla, would you like to read it for us, please?
Hell may be translated as meaning a life of extremely painful trials, with the certainty that it will never end. Purgatory is also a life of trials, but with the awareness of a better future. Whenever you are suffering a great deal of pain, do you not say that you are suffering like hell? These are also nothing more than words uttered as a figure of speech.
Okay, let's go through now. Gradually again. What did we learn from the first phrase? Hell may be translated as meaning a life of extremely painful trials with the uncertainty that it will never end. Do people, us or others, have that state of mind? Is a question. Some. Why do some people have that state of mind. They may think that they are constantly going through extremely trials of pain and think that will never end. Why do we have that state of mind?
We don't understand the teachings that we get here of life after death. If we do something wrong, we've got the chance of overcoming that by taking trials. They actually believe that when you're dead, you're dead. Said in this film, Jesus is dead. No way is he going to be alive. They really believe that. And they can't understand how to get out of it by understanding the teachings that we've got there.
Do some people,
assist us to get there.
yes, do some people or us as spirits who are reincarnated have sometimes extremely painful trials? Can that happen to us? Yes or no?
Yeah, definitely.
What are trials? Let's imagine that I never heard of it. What are trials? Experiences. Who choose to go through extremely painful trials? Us? Are you sure? Why did we choose to go through extremely painful trials? Understanding trials as experiences. What is the purpose of those experiences? To grow? To grow what? To learn what? Emotionally, intellectually, morally, spiritually. In relation to what? In relation to the universal laws that govern all of us, which I haven't learned yet, but I may have choose to go through now. So it's a completely different view, different viewpoint how we have through Spiritism. Painful experiences is nothing more from the eyes of the immortality. Experiences that the Spirit, us, asked to go through as learners of ourselves, or our spiritual benefactors help us preparing because they know that will help to promote us spiritually.
So we can become better people.
We can become
fair debts and taking it out of our system when we were wrong, when we hurt someone before. It's in our nature. But when we learn that we've got to pay the price for that behaviour, we don't want it to happen to us again. And it's out of our system, we couldn't even dream of it.
Precisely. Or through our ignorance or whatever, we all hurt ourselves and hurt others. But here we are all once more in a new possibility with new opportunities to understand the experiences live and even our concepts in a different way, in a light-hearted way, not in a harsh way, light-hearted. Okay? And then they carry on. Purgatory is also a life of trials, but with the awareness of a better future. Whenever you are suffering a great deal of pain, do you not say that you are suffering like hell? Is make a comparison with us here on earth, isn't it? Oh my God, you don't know I'm going through a hell here. What kind of experiences for us on earth are those that we may refer as hell? Because under God's eyes, under the Creator's eyes, who is love, all the experiences are positive in our existence, isn't it? So why, which kind of experiences do we refer as hell?
I think like if you're dealing with a difficult disease or illness, could be one. For some people, losing like the money is, it's hell.
Okay.
For some people, breaking up a relationship is hell. So it really depends on each person's, mind.
It depends on the degree of evolution, as we saw previously.
Yeah.
Yes. But yes, it could be if a person is very attached to money, and if the universe wants me to promote spiritually, he wants me to detach more on that, dematerialize myself, he may change my social conditions, and I may lose my job. And suddenly I find myself in a different way. And that may be a hell, psychologically, emotionally, through my limitations of understanding the superior move of promoting goodness within. Because in the end of the day, once we leave the physical body, we cannot take anything here from us. Could also be a hell if I'm very attached in a selfish way to my partner, my wife, or my children, or whatever it is, my husband, and then suddenly they may die or may tell me, well, I stopped loving you, I don't want to be with you anymore. And then if I'm very immature, unprepared, I may suffer a lot, but in the spirit, probably I ask to go through in order for me to learn to love myself and to love others despite of their initiatives. Okay? Where were we? Did we go through the first part or did we go up to the end? The last one. These are also nothing more than words uttered as a figure of speech. So it's just helping us to understand. We learned a lot of things, all of us, even within Spiritism, we may have on our unconscious mind sometimes those concepts that now we are reframing and changing. Because in reality, when we come back to the school earth as immortal beings in order to learn, yes, sometimes we do ask, knowing, to go through challenging experiences in order to promote us more. Promote in terms of simplicity, promote in terms of humility, promote ourselves in terms of obedience in relation to God's will, understand that God's will is the love towards every one of us as creatures. He is not here to punish us, He is here to help us to learn to love, because a lot of painful experiences and sufferings come from the lack of love within. Once we develop love within, activating and stimulating the natural laws that we all bring within, we will change the experiences that we attract as mechanisms of learning. Is that clear? Then we carry on now in question 1015. Andrea, would you like to read it for us?
What should be understood by a tormented soul?
What do you understand about the question now? What should be understood by a tormented soul? What is the question about? Imagine that someone who never heard what we are studying, what would they understand? Or what do we understand by it? What should be understood by a tormented soul? Are tormented souls in the universe?
If they are.
Hmm?
Oh,
So what should be understood by tormented soul? Come on. Okay. So what is the question about?
I think it's, I would say, a state of mind or spirit of someone, or so yeah, because for me, it's always the spirit incarnated.
Okay.
He's tormented because he's thinking of something he's done wrong, he doesn't know why, and he's feeling bad. He really is feeling bad, and he doesn't understand how or why.
So soul
Or
for
maybe he has got a conscience, he knows something, he can't face up to it.
okay.
It could be anything.
Could be. So for us here, studying with those who may never heard about soul, because they just see themselves from a physical level, soul is the incarnated spirit. We are all essentially spirits, and once we are in the flesh, we are souls here who are learning. Tormented because we are in afflictions, in disturbances. We may not understand ourselves. We may not understand the experiences that we go through. We may find it challenging, life in itself. So we are tormented psychologically and emotionally. And that means that we are lacking understanding about ourselves, about experiences from a deeper perspective. Correct?
Yes.
Okay. Could be through ignorance, could be through our immaturity, spiritually speaking, doesn't matter. But tormented is a temporary state. Yeah. And then the Enlightened Spirits say, an errant and suffering soul, uncertain about its future, and to whom you can provide the solace it frequently begs for when it comes to communicate with you. So now how can we decodify this understanding? What do we understand about an errant and suffering soul? Imagine those who may be studying with us or even ourselves, we may think, well, I die and that's it. And what do I understand now here by errant?
Is the time between incarnations?
The time when I free myself from the physical body and the time between the next reincarnation.
Yes.
So it is a spiritual state where we are, correct dimension. Don't forget that Earth is also a spiritual dimension, correct? But a different one, okay? Uncertain about its future. How could that be?
As you said, like, you don't know, like, oh, if I die, what happens? Or those who are in this in-between session and didn't realize where they are or what happened to them.
Okay, they may be very insecure, they may be fearful. Oh my God, where I am, what happened to me now? I don't know anyone here, which place is theirs? This is quite often what they say. Where I am, which awkward place is this where I am? When they wake up, yeah, and uncertain about the future, then, oh my God, where I'm going now? What can happen from now onwards with me? What can happen to a tormented soul when it wakes up in this condition? What can happen?
It could cause more suffering.
Could
If
cause-
the soul doesn't know, the spirit doesn't really understand, doesn't know what is happening.
If the soul gets involved in their own limited thinking,
Yeah.
then it could increase the suffering.
Yeah.
And what else?
If, in other hand, if it has some, clarity in the mind, it could pray. I always think of André Luis, and also the book when he stays in whatever the purgatory, what we call, for years without knowing what was happening until he would start begging to God for help, and that's when the help came.
And that we learn with a lot of spirits when they come and communicate themselves and they say, oh my God, I have been praying for such a long time. Those who are already in that level. And then suddenly, oh, is this what is happening? And others may say, oh my God, is this because I'm going back to the spiritual world? Is this reality? So the different states that happen, yes? But could also be uncertain about this future if we start to become more conscious, knowing that I may have hurt or did wrong with someone. I may also feel quite uncertain. Oh my God, what will happen to me now? And within God's laws, there is no such a punishment thing, or we stay in the hell forever. Under God's laws, which are the natural laws in the universe, He will grant us a new possibility for us to carry on as learners as we are, to do things in a different way. The first thing, if we are afraid of what will happen in the future, if we did something wrong, let's learn to forgive ourselves. Because when we learn to forgive, which is part of the learning to love ourselves, we will also become more relaxed internally and then also feel more stronger and encouraged next time around to do differently. And we don't need to wait the experience in itself. We can learn to think differently right now. We have that interior freedom and autonomy to do that. Is that making sense?
If you come across a suffering spirit that communicates with you in the spirit, you have to use your judgment. You can't treat everybody that's tormented the same. When you start speaking to somebody, you try and suss out exactly what they're like, what is really giving them the problem, rather than giving them a whole lot of
lecture,
intellectual stuff they may not understand. You have to do it gently. It might be an ignorant someone. You have to speak simply.
Yes.
It might be someone who's a bit more intellectual and needs a higher sort of conversation. So you take each individual as they are at that time, and I'm sure your own spirit guides will help us in speaking to them.
What do we learn? What do we need to learn in order to become that instrument that is capable of speaking with spirits from different orders? What do we need to develop? As you rightly said, with those who may be very ignorant, very simple, those who are more intellectualized, those who are very scientific, those who are very prideful. What do we need to learn to develop to be able to relate with these different souls?
Well, unless you're a psychiatrist, it's difficult, but the point is you can learn about life. People you meet in life, people you meet in this movement, the people on the outside of the movement that don't break this. Some maybe, a lot of people reject it, but you have to suss the individual out, what they're like, what they're actually saying to you, what is their problem. You can't reach, I think God will forgive you immediately. You have to find out a little bit about what
learning to
thinking.
listen. So learning to listen to the other.
Yes,
so we need to learn to let ourselves behind and learn to listen generally where the other is. What else do we need to learn to develop? Is studying about the laws of the universe, is that fundamental? fundamental for those who are on the scientific level. They come and they talk on the scientific level. If we don't have knowledge, if we don't have capacities, how can we help each other? We also need to develop that level. They don't want to hear charity, love. They're not there yet. They want to articulate ideas and fast. So we also need to prepare ourselves on that level so that we engage, that we have a rapport, and then we start to go deeper and deeper. Is that okay?
Everyone's different.
Yes.
So you may have to treat somebody different to what you think you might have to.
Yes. You said, I like what you said, we can learn that on daily basis if we are in a social level, family-wise, work-wise, because we are also relatively different people. Because otherwise we would find it very challenging and difficult when it's coming to relate with other spirits. Because the ability to relate with the different and the difference is fundamental, according to the needs of each soul, each being. Okay, so we move on to question 1016. And the question says, in what sense should the word heaven be understood? Previously it was purgatory, now it's heaven. Why is Allan Kardec asking these questions to the enlightened spirits? Do we have an idea?
I think because you already spoke about hell and purgatory, so why not, talk also about heaven? Maybe this is 5 days.
I wonder,
heaven, purgatory, because it's all things they talk about.
I wonder if there and then, because it's around 160 years ago, more, is trying to help us to bring these teachings from the superior spirits for us to cleanse, to change our own belief systems from centuries and centuries that we learned. Because as beings in evolution, we went already through different pathways in terms of religiosity. Is that making sense? Mm-hmm. Now we move on to the next one. Do you believe that it is a place like the Elysian fields of the ancients, where all the good spirits are confusingly crowded together with no other concern than that of enjoying an eternity of passive bliss? No. It is universal space, the planets, the stars, and all the highly evolved worlds on which spirits enjoy all their faculties without the tribulations of material life or the anguish inherent to less evolved stages. What comes to our minds here now? What are we learning?
I think that, like, the first part is exactly what kind of I heard in school. You die and then you resurrect and then you live beside God. And I used to think, like, well, what do we do? Like, we spend the rest of the eternity sitting on a chair, like on the clouds, playing some angelic instrument. So that was my special. I was like, I think it's a bit boring.
Well, I do believe in my ignorance that I think for a long time we believed in that. I believed in that, considering my previous existences, that I was in a different religion belief system, so I believed in that. And I didn't challenge it because I wasn't stimulated to challenge, to think for myself. But now, where we are, according to our understanding now, it doesn't make sense. It would be, how could God, who is the creator of everything and everyone in the universe, create creatures who would simply stay idle? It doesn't make sense when we start to reflect. Because the love that comes from God for itself is a movement, is action in movement. So how could that be in an idle state? Anything to add here? It also helps us here to understand when it says it is universal space, the planets, the stars, and all the highly evolved worlds on which spirits enjoy all their faculties without the tribulations of material life. What do we learn here?
I think we have much more freedom to actually explore our abilities and to learn and to study, because we don't have the head body to carry actually.
For sure. I also wonder if the enlightened spirits are also helping us to understand, to look, to analyze life beyond Earth. Because for quite some time we always think that Earth is the only planet, and that's it. And here they are referring to space, planets, stars.
That's the true happiness. It says in the gospel, true happiness is not this world.
Precisely.
It is there. You haven't got any material worries, you haven't got worries of the health of the physical body or your possessions, which as you get older, and I've found that ago, become more of a headache.
Mm-hmm.
Even owning my car now, I don't want to know anymore, I've had enough of it.
Mm.
There's a lot of problems on the roads as well with this pollution. The point is, possessions are a headache. Some people don't believe that, they love their possessions. When you go to the high life of the spirit world, you says that you've got no without the tribulations of material life or the anguish in heaven to this boast. But you got to get to that stage where you know you're happier in the spirit world, and that you've got to aim to that space above, right? And not have to come back here and go to all this kind of business of ownership and health. You know, you don't want to get here and land up in hospital and go for blood tests and all these sort of things. Tie you down to this world.
Anything else?
Well, I think, as you said, that helps us when we have this understanding to start in this life to detach from all those things. And I think it's quite exciting to know we have so much, to learn. Otherwise, I feel like that wouldn't make sense. We live a life where we are always trying to learn something, to study, to develop ourselves for nothing. And then you die and that's all. So for me, just this by itself will be enough not to believe this life ends when we die. Because some people, they think, no, that's it. We know what we're born, we're going to die, and we become just soil. And there wouldn't be any reason for, to live life as we do if there wasn't a continuation.
Precisely. And there wouldn't be any reason to go through the hardships of certain trials that we go. There wouldn't be any reason why some people would go through suffering experiences and others not. That is merely because we all come back in order to evolve and become with a specific program. For some of us, it is to go through suffering experiences considering our previous choices. For others may not have the sufferings as such, but we all have challenges in the stage where we are. All as learners, not as punishment, as learners. Then we carry on our question 1017, and it says, some spirits have said that they inhabit the fourth, the fifth heaven, etc. What is meant by this? What is this question about?
Different level of evolution.
I'm kind of
What do you think?
That's what is the spirit man. Let's see. See the question? Look at the question. Look the answer now. Surely clarifying something. Let's go through gradually. It's quite long. You ask them which heaven they inhabited, because you have the idea of many superimposed heavens resembling the stories of a house. Thus, they merely responded according to your own language. However, for them, the words fourth or fifth heaven express different degrees of purification and consequently of happiness. It is the same when a spirit is asked if it is in a hell. If it is unhappy, it will say yes, because for it, hell is synonymous with suffering, although it knows very well that it is not a furnace. A pagan spirit would respond that it is in Tartarus. What do we understand here now? What are the main points that the enlightened spirits are teaching us through the question that we read 1017?
I think I'm still kind of keep the same thinking. Will be a different level of, as you said, or evolution, let's say. Yeah, because degrees of purification would be the different levels of, the when we are the probes and the word. The levels of the word, the primitive one, and the ones
The
we
scale
are
of
now.
evolution?
The scale of
Yes.
evolution, yes.
Mhm.
Because as I understood, and if you ask someone, a spiritist, suffering is going to say hell, but they could name whatever they want. So basically, for me, I understood that they named something just for us to understand more or less what they mean.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Anybody else?
Well, their level of understanding, or where they think they're in there, or they think they're unhappy in there, wherever they are.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if they just studied these teachings, they wouldn't have these problems.
Mm-hmm.
But they haven't. I mean, they've got to be, like most people seem to be these days, when they get there, they'll express how they feel. It could be any one of those things.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what we've got to look out for, if we actually communicate.
Mm-hmm. So it's really where the spirit, where the soul is in their understanding about the experience that they are undergoing, yeah? Okay.
Well, that's good about not so know the way he managed throughout the book to his mother healthy enough. This.
Mm-hmm.
It just gives us a wonderful example.
Yeah, precisely. The book No Solar.
Not so long.
Yes, yes. Very good. And then carry on the next, now are the words of Allan Kardec, with the same question, 1017. The same applies to other analogous expressions, such as the city of flowers, the city of the elect, the first, second, or third sphere, etc., which are no more than allegories employed by certain spirits, whether as figures of speech, whether from ignorance of the reality of things, or whether from ignorance of the simplest scientific concepts. What is
It's
that?
the same type of thing, isn't it? Not everyone understands. Some people are completely ignorant.
Yeah.
And some have a bit of understanding, some may have a lot even.
Mm-hmm.
But it says here, they're suffering from the ignorance of the reality of things, or whether from ignorance of the simplest concepts. Well, that doesn't have to be scientific, but there can be of everything in life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What else comes from that? So well said. From the ignorance of the reality of things, what is that teaching us?
But
I can have
the reality of life, the spirit.
I can have a very reductionist view about reality.
Yeah.
Is that?
They're not aware of the full reality.
Okay. So because they haven't developed the ability to understand life from a spiritual perspective, or if you don't like the word spiritual, from a transpersonal perspective, from a holistic way of living. Yeah? And then from ignorance of the simplest scientific concepts.
It's just another example.
And another example, which helps us also to remind us that we also need to understand about the different fields of knowledge on earth. Here is referring scientific concepts. When we understand the universe, when we understand better life from a deeper level, then we also carry on studying, understand science from a spiritual perspective, which presents the divine science. As we started our study today saying that Spiritism is a science that refers to the origin, the nature and destiny of the spirits and their relationship in the corporeal world. Is that making sense? Yeah? So in that way we are coming to the end today. And as always we carry on. Carla, would you like to do the closing prayer for us?
So, dear Jesus, would like to thank you for this opportunity. All of us being together here to one more time study the laws of God and learning a little bit more with our brothers and sisters, the Enlightened Spirits that came to us to answer some of the questions that help us to understand life better, our meaning life, the reason why we're here, and to help us go through life in a much easier way, learning and understanding life. So would like to thank you and thank God for all the opportunities, for the experience of being incarnated, and all the spirits that help us through this existence. For that, we say thank you. And so